Okay. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us here. I'm Avni Hada, project manager at Scholarship Track, and also today's host for another live Q&A event with a very talented guest with us, Pooja Monga. Hi, Pooja. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Apni. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I would like to inform that Pooja is an assistant manager at Invest India, and she's also an alumna of London Business School. So, before we begin our session, I would like to tell that in the first half, Pooja will be sharing her insights about her master's journey, what were her learnings as an applicant, and what made her get in the role at Invest India. So, and in the later half, we'll be answering the live questions. So, we can keep entering the questions in the chat below, and we'll make sure that Pooja answers them towards the end of the session. So, Pooja, let's begin. So, firstly, I would like to ask you that can you please tell us about yourself, including your latest educational experience and the role you are currently working in?
Sure. So I'm brought up and based in Delhi. I did my undergraduation from SRCC, which is a college at Delhi University. I pursued a bachelor's of commerce, and like a lot of other college students, I was trying to explore what kind of activities interest me, what are my skills, where does my passion lie, what career am I looking at. And in order to do so, I joined a bunch of different extracurricular activities with a focus on theater and organizational work at a bunch of different clubs and events. That's when I realized that I like teamwork and I like activities where my management skills are used. I also interned with Deloitte and with the Ministry of Finance in the process of identifying, what kind of a career would I like down the line. When I finished my bachelor's, I did a master's in management at London Business School, where I received merit scholarship. And after completing my master's, I came back to India and I joined Invest India. Have been with the organization for 2 years now, and it looks at investment promotion, startup facilitation, and innovation ecosystem in our country. It's a not-for-profit venture within the government of India, and my role here is to scale up emerging innovations in the country.
Okay, that's great. I think I just highlighted two of your achievements in the beginning, but we have a lot more, I guess. So it's great. So next, so why did you choose to study abroad? Like, what are the factors which help you distinguish between different countries?
I think for me, I was always wanting to explore, how studies are abroad. I think for me, international exposure was extremely important because I've always studied in Delhi before this. So I was looking for diversity in learning and in the patterns of learning and, growing both personally and professionally. So when I finished my schooling, I was thinking of doing an undergraduation from abroad. But when I got through Sri Ram College of Commerce, since it's one of the most premier schools in India, I thought, I'll probably halt in that decision and I'll look to do a master's right after from abroad. And that's when I decided that I'm looking for an early master's, while all of my friends took up different jobs across the industry. I went on to furthering my education. When deciding, I think the three most important parameters are: one, deciding the course that interests you, that's in line with what you've studied, what you want to do in future. Since I'd done commerce, I wanted to further skills in management, picked up a master's in management. Pick the institution that is right for you. For me, LBS was always the first preference in terms of the opportunities that it provides, in terms of the reputation of the school, the ranking of the school, in terms of the support that it provides. And, I gathered that information by doing research on the school, by speaking to lots of alums, and by seeing what kind of job opportunities will I have after that. Now, while deciding the correct location for you, I think you have to first decide what is the larger area that you're looking at. Are you looking at the US? Are you looking at the European region? And then you break it down further to see what suits you best. For me, I think I was always more inclined towards United Kingdom, and of course London, since it's the hub. It is dynamic. It's culturally easy to fit in, and language is not a barrier. So for me, these items are really important to checklist. And there are lots of other schools, for example, HEC Paris, which I was also considering. But I thought for me, maybe, since I don't know French, language could be a barrier, and that's when I decided on London.
Okay, great. So one thing I would like to ask you here, as you mentioned that UK is the hub and you always incline towards that country specifically. So why didn't you choose like USA? If because you did masters in management and that's why you chose UK, or
Sure,
it's another?
sure. That's a good question. I think ever since I was in school, I always had this outlook that I want to study both in the UK and in the US. And we always, hear about these great MBA schools in the US where people do specialization and get, a broader understanding about the industry in an on-ground fashion. And that's how I looked at it. I'm still open to doing more studies. I don't think I'm done right now. That's for a personal preference. So I thought, I'll keep US for later when I, potentially do an MBA.
Okay, great. So, why should one pursue early masters? Because as far as I know, you pursued them right after graduation, if I'm correct. So,
That's
why
right.
should one pursue early masters, and what are the pros and cons for that?
I think your eventual goal should be clear. And when I say that, I'm not saying you need to know exactly what you'll be doing in your career. Nobody knows that. Right now we're in COVID. Nobody really expected this year. Similarly, I don't think when you're so early on in your life, you know exactly what you want to do in life. But just having the next 10 years panned out in terms of when you want to study would be a good starting point. For example, I told you I always knew that I wanted to do an early master's. So right now I'm very comfortable in my life knowing that I'm not looking to explore an MBA. I'm focusing on my profession and going up the ladder. But that's a decision that you have to make. That are you looking to study early on right after undergrad? Are you looking to work for 5 years, apply for an MBA? So have that clarity about the goal. Don't just jump into a decision. In terms of a master's, according to me, there are four reasons why one pursues it. One is for learning, to really develop your skills. Two is for an industry switch. Let's say you're working in a particular industry and you're unable to switch jobs, and you think a master's will help you change that. So that's two. Number three is that you want a good pedigree, right? We all want to go to good schools. We all want good degrees. So you want that stamp, and you want it to help you excel in your career later. And fourthly, when sometimes people want to study because they worked for so long, they want to take a break and go back to classroom learning. So according to me, early masters will give you the first three, because not a break from work, because usually the criteria is up to 3 years of work experience. So the first three, if that's what you're looking for, then definitely go do a master's. Now, there are pros and there are cons. Let me cover the pros first. Firstly, the learning that you get it very early on in your life, right? So you are learning from the best. The knowledge that you're building on can really be utilized in your profession later. You build on your presentations, your confidence. You're like a fully ready product, knowing the best skills to then enter the job market and do well. So that's one. Number two is that you're done with your education early on, like I said, right? If you think that, I want to be done early on and I don't want to leave a master's for later, early master's, whether it's in finance or it's in management, is for you. And I think thirdly, since it's a younger crowd that you're dealing with, they're very fresh minds with the same vision and the same zeal that you have. So there is no time that is wasted in unlearning what you may have learned at the school. So for me, those were the pros. And in terms of the cons, it's not an MBA, right? So often people confuse a master's with an MBA and they start competing with that lot in the job market. There's undergrad, there's MBA, and in between there's master's. So that's where you will be valued and your skills will be valued because you're still quite young. Um, Number two is that if you're an Indian, then you would know that India focuses a lot on campus recruitments. So, a lot of these organizations will be going to, universities, they'll be going to IIMs, to ISB, and hiring students from there. So often, you may struggle a little bit with the online applications once you come back if you're deciding to target India. So that's another thing you may want to consider. And thirdly, is that with an early master, since you don't have the professional experience, you may not know exactly what skill you want to pick up. Once you work for 5 to 6 years, you'll know, okay, maybe, I'm looking at analytics, maybe finance, maybe negotiation, maybe AI, and you can focus on that better. So those are the pros and cons, and you can see what works for you best.
Okay, great. So, like, I have another question. Like, if one wants to pursue early masters, but he or she may be backed up because of the factor that she or he doesn't have any experience in that particular
Mhm.
field. So, does work experience really count? And if it does, so does it count for UK specifically, or it's like a general concept?
No. So let's divide it. If you're looking at an early master's, it's usually 0 to 3 years of work experience. If you're looking for an MBA, it's usually minimum 3 to 4 years of work experience. So you're kind of targeting a different pool altogether. Now, how much work experience you have in this field, it doesn't matter as long as you have a good story and you have a good reason for pursuing it. When I was at LBS, there were people with no work experience like myself. There were people with 1 year, with 2 year, with 3 years. The idea is everybody had a different story. Everybody knew why they had come here. So it does not reflect negatively or positively in any which way. It's just different. And also in terms of the country, it does not matter. It's basis the degree that you do. So even in the US, if you end up doing an early master's, early means that you shouldn't have too much work experience because that is the age group of the class, and that's the way the learning will be targeted at.
Okay. So, if we come on the application process, so what factors should be focused upon during the application process for masters in abroad?
Um, I think let's break it down. For me, structure is very important. Sometimes people don't know when should they take GMAT, when should they be applying for a school, which school should they be applying for, and all of those questions can often lead to a lot of confusions for you. So my suggestion here, and this is exactly what I did, would be that number one, decide if you want to do a master's, and if you've decided on doing one, I think the first step should be to clear GMAT and GRE. It's just this one thing that's weighing you down that I want a good score. It's this thing I have to do. So why don't you do it and get it out of the way because GMAT is valid for 5 years. I think that'll be number one. Number two is decide on the school. So do a lot of research, look up the different courses they have. When you're making the decision, especially if you're an international student, look up things like what is a job success after that for students who are not based in that area. What are the visa restrictions like? Different schools offer 3 months, 6 months, 1 year after you've completed your studies to find a job. Those are things you may want to consider. Look at financing. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship, but a lot of my friends were very smart to get these really easy financing options for themselves, and they're now funding their courses. So look up scholarships and loans, and most of the schools are very supportive with helping you find these options and to help you know about these areas. LBS is extremely supportive in this way. They'll tell you everything that you are looking to read about. Speak to more people. I spoke to lots of alums. I attended lots of webinars. I think that really helps to know about their experiences, to learn from them, and then really make your story and your essay personalized, and that's when you start working on your essay. At least that's what I did. So a lot of people get confused between, is the hard job to think of your story or to write an essay. Writing an essay is honestly not that hard. You can take a pen and a paper and start writing. But your story is what will take time to build, to kind of make yourself very different. So
Mm.
where you're going to spend time and where you should spend time is to brainstorm with your friends, your family, your professors, your counselors, whoever it is, to think about yourself. What is your motivation to apply? Why are you considering that particular school? Why should you be considered? And how does that course in school help you marry, you know, yourself to the kind of a goal you're looking at in future? So those are very important questions to answer, and that's what majority of the schools are looking at. LBS had a bunch of different essays. It wasn't like I wrote one paper and gave it to them. They had like 10, 12 different questions that I had to answer, because they really wanted to know who I am and why am I interested in this school. I remember they had this question about what international exposure did you have last, and how did that help you, and they wanted to know about my interests, and what challenges I think I'm going to face at LBS as an Indian student. So I think those are things you should consider. Do a lot of research, think, and then get to writing.
Okay, that was a great explanation. So, can you elaborate more on your journey and learnings as an applicant for LBS?
Sure. So I think I went prepared with what the year is going to look like. Now, since it's a 1 year course, usually a master's, it's gone like this. You won't even know when it starts and when it ends, and there's so much going on. So be prepared with whatever you can be, and then definitely flow with whatever is happening. Go with the flow to make the most of it. So number one is I went prepared with my accommodation, something that majority of the people do struggle with. So number one would be, think about whether you want to stay in a student accommodation or you want to rent a flat. Now, I stayed in this student accommodation called Good Enough College. Look it up. Had an extremely, enriching experience over there. They have an application process to ensure that the people who are living there are super diverse. So you really kind of get, best of both the worlds. You have your uni life, and then you come back to a student accommodation where people are studying everything from business, finance, music, dance, and it's really cool to just hang out with them, be a part of different clubs and activities. Think about where do you want to stay? How do you want to look at life over there? Then when my college, when university started, I had spoken to people and I knew how the trimesters are going to be spaced out. So I kind of knew what I'm, looking at. And the first trimester was super intense. Like I had no time to breathe. I loved it, but it was so intense. There were so many courses, there were so many bonding activities, there was a lot of partying, of course, and there were so many career fairs where LBS was helping us find the right jobs, helping us network through the same. And there were lots of clubs. LBS has a club for anything you can think about, like literally from an India club to a volunteers club to an expedition club to a consulting club to anything that you can think about. They have a club made for you. So make the most of that. There were admissions, applications for that happening. There were interviews taking place, and then before I knew it, I had my exams. So the first trimester was really intense, but a great experience. Then for me, for highlights were that London Business School had a very supportive platform. So you can literally walk up to them with whatever you need, and they will have something carved out for you. So if you're looking at roles in consulting, there were consulting prep sessions taking place where you could go and practice cases with people. You want to build in your interpersonal skills, they had sessions for that. They had career mentoring workshops for the same. They had talks by different people to learn about the industry, and there were personality development sessions as well. So that was interesting. For me, I was a part of the India Club and the Volunteers Club. India Club because, hey, I'm Indian, and I just, I thought it would be a comfort zone, be part of different activities over there. And Volunteers Club, passionate about it. So, I kind of thought it's a good combination to have. LBS has electives. Most of the masters have electives, so you have this bunch of electives where you can get to study with students across MBAs, across different courses, and mingle with people who may be double, triple your age. And that was quite interesting. I picked up courses I had never even thought about uh, because I had a chance to do that. And another thing that worked well for me was this global immersion field trip that London Business School offers. So it's basically a trip that you can take to one of the locations they offer, and you have an application process. And every trip has a different theme. So I went to Silicon Valley, we visited Google, LinkedIn, Stanford, NASA, and it was a great experience. So what I'm trying to say here is that masters is something that you're not focusing on textbooks, but what learning you have in a practical manner. So try everything out there so that you can have an interesting story and don't have regrets later. Go network, go travel, go intern, do extracurriculars. Take trips, do case competitions, do everything. Don't follow the herd. Do what you want to do, and believe in yourself that things are going to work out.
Great. That's a very good advice. So, what would you recommend to the early professionals who are watching the session right now?
In terms of what they should be focusing on.
Yeah, because as you said that one should pursue early masters. So, what if someone is in a professional field? They have just
Mhm.
joined, maybe they have 1 or 2 years work experience. So, what would you
Mhm.
recommend to them? Because I think I just read about one thing that UK is offering a 2 year work visa after masters. So would that
Right.
benefit to people, or would they still like to join universities in USA because it's kind of a
Mhm.
main hub?
I think that's a very personal choice. What location you prefer. It could be as personal as, hey, it's nearer to my home. It could be that, I like US more than UK and so on. So it's a personal choice. I think future is always uncertain. I do hope that, job market in UK opens up. So it's also an easier choice. But it sort of depends on you. I don't think I can come in here and tell you which location to pick, but it's more or less a personal choice. But know your priority well, I would say. Know why you picked up that course. Is it for the experience, for learning? Is it to land up for a job over there? Is it to groom yourself or to take a break from the other things that you were doing? And then focus a lot on that.
Okay. So as like after doing masters, what are the ways career paths one can opt after doing
Mhm.
their masters?
So let's take a step back. I think think about what interests you right now, and I would suggest if you're going to apply for a master's, start reading upon it a little bit before. For example, when you step into your master's, your job interviews start right away. So it's always good to read up a little bit about it and do some practice before you start, so that the pressure reduces. Maybe do some case studies. Practice your Excel, your PPT. If you're looking at finance, practice that. In terms of opportunities, there are all opportunities that I can think of. Kind of depends on your background. So if you're from the science background, obviously all other opportunities in commerce and finance and management open up for you. So you can look at consulting, you can look at banking, you can look at business development, at marketing, the startup ecosystem, VCs. So all of these opportunities are open for you, and people usually, after finishing their masters, go into two directions. One is they may take up internships for about 3 to 6 months to learn about that particular field, or there are the others who go for full-time opportunities. Honestly, both work perfectly well, because in the long run, it's all about the exposure that you have. So if you're getting internship opportunities, definitely go and grab them. You learn a lot more than you think you can.
Okay, great. So let's come to your Invest India, where you're currently working. So
Mhm.
first of all, we'd like to know why did you decide to work there, and can you explain in detail the work you do at Invest India and your role specifically
Mhm.
in particular?
Sure. I think when I finished my master's, I was looking for a job which can help me create some impact, make a difference, and it wasn't as structured and as cliche as a lot of the other roles. So I came back to India and got to know about Invest India, and I thought it was really interesting how it's a not-for-profit within the government that is inviting candidates from the private sector to come in. So we have bankers, we have consultants, we have researchers, we have lawyers as a part of the team, and we're all working in very different, diverse ways to make a difference for India. Like I said, looking at investments, looking at startups, looking at innovations. And that's what really excited me about this place, because I was looking to join somewhere where I'm also valued for my skills, both interpersonal as well as the others. So I thought Invest India was a great place for me. And the vision, like I said, it definitely made it look super interesting. And the team is very young. Its average age is less than 30. So it's dynamic and it's very, vibrant and enthusiastic. The culture is great. We're set up, doing these great things. We're set up like a startup. So it's a flat organization. You always have a say. Your views will always be respected. And that's really encouraged by our MD and CEO, Mr. Deepak Bagla, who treats you like family. So, as the Invest India family, you can come in and say, whatever you think would be great for the organization. And the first thing to say is, go ahead and do it. So that really interests me. And the exposure that you're going to get here, and again, this is one of the reasons I joined, is a lot. So I joined when I was 22, and as a 22-year-old, the opportunity to work with CXOs and senior government level officials, sit on a table with them, have targeted decisions, discussions about different topics, and actually see those things operationalize. It's great, and it's an opportunity you don't get often at a very young age. And all of these factors contributed towards my decision.
Okay, great. I think that is definitely a part of India's growth story, as the site says at Invest India. So, if we talk about the organization more, like what opportunities are there for young graduates and early professionals, and how diverse is it?
Lots of opportunities, and it is super diverse. So let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing, and then I can tell you about the different opportunities that are there. Uh, so I look at the innovation spectrum here. So there's a program called Agni. It's one of the programs that is housed at Invest India, and it's a technology commercialization program with the vision that there's a lot of innovation in our country. Let's scale it up. And why I'm telling you this is to answer your question about how diverse it is. Now, I am someone who comes with a commerce and business background, but this organization gave me an opportunity to work in the technology domain, where I had not a lot of experience. But they recognized that I had the management and business experience to kind of marry it with the different innovators in our country and help them in their journey to the market. So, we help them in understanding their technologies, we'll help them in de-risking the same with different opportunities, and then we help them with different deployment opportunities. So why I tell you this is that wherever your interest lies, and if they see that you have the passion and you have the right skills, it's the place for you. Um, you'll be doing things from business development to stakeholder management to research to advisory to operations in the team. So wherever you come from, if you're interested and there is an opening, I think you could be a good fit.
Okay. So one thing I would like to ask here, like how is Invest India contributing to the SDGs, like the Sustainable Development Goals? Like, is there any new plan how to sustain them? And if yes, then which goals are you specifically targeting?
Mhm. Um, so Invest India has a lot of different operations that are housed here, right? And we definitely look at sustainable investments. We're looking at sectors that are, important to India and to the world. So, we would be, like I said, we'll be looking at sustainable investments. We'll be looking at supporting startups and to create job opportunities there. We'll be looking at innovations in the country at the grassroots levels to create an impact, to create more job opportunities, to help them scale up. And we have different missions that are housed here. So we have a waste to wealth mission. How can you reduce the waste in the country? And how can you literally, help the country scale up? So we're trying to work in every direction. We're trying to work in the direction of women empowerment, the programs and knowledge sharing sessions running there. So a lot of different activities that are taking place.
Okay, so that's nice. And so I think we should switch to live Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
I can see various questions coming from the audience.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So yeah, so here's one. I think I'll give.
We talked about consulting work post undergraduate degree with academic. Okay. Um, Not sure the things of what kind of work that you can do in consulting firms. There are large management consulting firms and there are consulting firms which is advisory. So as management consulting, we provide consulting
Um,
analysis mason that is looking at the TMT sector. And as a consultant, you will be working in a project focused approach. So you will have clients who will have problems, and you will be brought in to solve those problems, analyze it, and to give an advice towards the end as to how they can solve it basis your best recommendation. So it's a project specific approach where you get more industry knowledge, and hope that answers your question. Okay. So it was a scholarship called the Great Scholarship. It was awarded by London Business School. It's only given to Indian students. So it was a £10,000 scholarship, and they gave it to two people in India, me and someone who became one of my really good friends at LBS. I application at Delhi University is through your academic records. So if you get the right kind of score that the university, the college, is specific college and course is looking for, you'd get the offer over there. You said LSR, so I assume you're talking about Delhi University here. Was it easy to return back to India and get a job? Um, So, like I said, right, everyone's story is different. Depends on what you're interested in. For me, I got a job as soon as I came back. So I came back in August and I started working in September. I came back. It was quite fast, but in totality, like I've mentioned before, India focuses on campus recruitments more. So since they have a very structured way of hiring, it could take you slightly longer to find the right kind of a job, but you will find something that you're looking for. So it depends from case to case, but definitely believe in yourself and know what you want, and you'll get it. How is my work life balance? At the moment, we're all working from home, so I think mine is as good or as bad as everybody else's. But otherwise, it's quite good. Our hours are 10 to 6. You have to give about 8 hours. And because it's government, and sometimes a lot of the projects that we get are quite they're very important and sometimes needed by people at very senior levels, at the secretary level, sometimes at the PMO level as well. So at that time your hours can stretch a little bit, but otherwise quite good. I think I maintain a good life. Is it good to go for masters in this pandemic? I had my admit from US, UK universities, but thinking to defer, but confused whether to defer the admit or go for online classes. Which one do you suggest? I think that's a tough call to make. We're all going through a hard time right now. I'd suggest you speak to more people right now who may have admitted, may have accepted your offers. I feel job market can be slightly tough abroad right now due to COVID, but it's completely your call. I have a lot of friends who've actually taken up their offers to go study, so I don't think I can comment more on this. Sorry.
Okay, so I think we'll be having a few more questions. Before that, I would like to ask, like, if someone from a STEM background or a STEM degree wants to pursue a career at Invest India,
Yeah.
so will that affect that a person is from a STEM degree, so he or she won't get an equal opportunity to work
Not
there?
at all. Not at all. Not at all. Like I said, super diverse. We have so many people here who are from the STEM background, and in fact, they definitely add to the diversity and to the knowledge bank and contribute to areas where maybe commerce and business students can't. So most definitely not.
Okay. I think we have a question for you.
I think it changed. It was okay. Do you find any difference among students' mentality, attitude towards their studies here in India and abroad? Um, so it's quite different, actually. Something that I really enjoyed at LBS was the fact that people were from across the globe, and they put you in these study groups where they ensure that all the people are from different countries, so different regions. So we may actually have studied the same thing. I remember in the accounting class, I had studied something in a very different fashion in India, and they had studied in a very different way. So it helped me really, diversify my learning and see that there are multiple ways to solve the same problem. And in general, in abroad. It's not very textbook focused. So, like I said, when I said, explore everything, um, when you're doing your masters, that's where you'll be able to learn, because the practical exposure is much more. So it's not just textbook focused, it's a lot on your entire personality development and using that practical knowledge later. I think you're unable to hear me, so let me just put my earplugs meanwhile. Okay. What are the various internship opportunities available at Invest India and how to apply? Lots of internship opportunities. We hire on a rolling basis. So there are internship opportunities, one across sector and country teams that look at attracting investments into India. So, there are different sectors out there: oil and gas, energy, there's finance, there is pharma, and so on. So over there we hire. Then there are different country teams that are facilitating stakeholders from these specific regions to come into India, so Western Europe, Eastern Europe, US, Korea, and those teams then hire for interns. And there is the startup team that is looking to hire interns in that particular domain. And then there's my team that's looking to hire interns in the innovation ecosystem. So if any of these areas interest you, then have a look at the website. You can apply directly from there, submit your CV, and if you are a match, somebody will be in touch with you. How to be more aware about various scholarships. I think speak to the university and do some online research. because that's where I got to know about a lot of scholarship opportunities. Once you've been admitted in a particular school, they will really help you know more about the different scholarship opportunities that are out there. There are lots of counselors that will help you. There are a lot of knowledge sharing sessions that you can look up to know more about the various scholarships. Speak to a lot of alums from your region. If you're an Indian, find out people from India who've gone to that particular school, see if they got scholarships. How did they get it? I think those would be good areas to explore.
Okay, so I think that were all the questions we had in the live chat. So I think it was a very informative session about like how to approach towards masters and what are the different diverse opportunities available at Invest India. So it was great to have you here, Pooja. And I think we will definitely be in touch with you, or we can contact you maybe at LinkedIn for any future
Sure.
opportunities so that we don't miss anything. So
Great, thanks, Navni. I think it's a tough decision to decide what course to pick, which school to pick, and then which career to pick. And you all are doing a great job at organizing these sessions to help people make a more informed decision. And I've been very happy to be here and share my experience. And I hope that it's helped.
great. So, lastly, any general advice you would want to give to the audience?
I think we've covered mostly everything, but feel free to reach out to me in case you guys still have any other questions. And otherwise, I would just say that believe in yourself. I think I still a lot of students and job seekers reach out saying we aren't getting that job, we aren't getting that master's school. What should we do right now? And I've been in your shoes. I know how it feels that this is the next big thing. If you miss it, something will change in your life, and honestly nothing's going to change, so keep at it and good luck.
Great. Before we end this, I think we just have one more question if you would want to answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is your vision for the next 5 years? How does your journey so far contribute to the vision? um I think one's vision sort of keeps changing, and all your experiences contribute towards it. So when I finished my master's, I did not think of contributing to the innovation ecosystem in the manner that I am. But when I started to do so, I realized that there are so many job opportunities in so many different areas that you can explore once you're really in the field. So I really enjoy what I do here, and I see myself, maybe picking up different aspects of it in the next 5 years and exploring different verticals in the same startup and innovation ecosystem in some domain, diversifying my skills more to get 360-degree learning experience that helps me in my life further. And well, you never know, maybe do another master's from somewhere. I enjoy learning and I enjoy academic learning. So I think my journey definitely contributes to that. And let's see where we go from here.
Thank you, Pooja, for showing up for today's event. And also, I would like to make sure to convey one more thing to the audience that please keep following our social scholarship track in all our social media channels so that you'll be interact where you cannot miss the events and all. So don't forget to follow us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. So thanks, Pooja. Thanks for being here. We It was a great session. So
Thanks,
that
Avni.
okay. So I think we can end it now.
Sure.